Hey guys, it is Eve from Forever Easy Died Laughing, and I'm here to do a very quick video about non-fiction books that I really loved. So seeing as it is non-fiction November, I decided to pick out a few of my favourite non-fiction books, and I wanted to tell you all about them now. The book I'm going to talk about is one that's appeared on BookTube quite a lot, and it's one that I read recently and just really enjoyed and was really pleasantly surprised by, and that is definitely Becoming by Michelle Obama. This is obviously Michelle's memoir just about her life, her childhood, how she growing up in a particular neighbourhood, going to college, meeting Barack Obama, and then the journey and what it means really to be like not only a senator's wife but then obviously the president's wife and the first lady, and what that's like, and how it is to raise a family with a man who, while wonderful, is also an extremely busy person and can't always be home a lot and can't always be as there as much as I guess an ordinary working husband can be, or working partner. This I just found so well written, so easy to read, and it was one of those ones where you really feel like, I know the audiobook that Michelle does narrate the audiobook herself, and it's definitely one I think I will reread through audiobook because I would love to hear her narrate it. But even without her actually listening to the audiobook, I definitely feel like Michelle's voice comes through really well, and it is easy to do, I guess, in a way that we all know Michelle so well from her time on television, her time as the First Lady. So we do know what she sounds like, and we do know her general, I guess, personality from seeing her on TV, and for those who live in America, seeing her in more places than that than just for me, who obviously lives outside of America. But I definitely think that she just comes across so warm and lovely and honest, and she doesn't hold back in this book either, and I think she really goes there in terms of what it was like to be married to Barack Obama, and the good and the bad and the ugly, and while she still is obviously madly in love with him, there were times where she was really mad at him as well, and you know, she really wanted and needed him to be around more, and I just really just love the honesty in this book, the friendliness in it, the intelligence. She's so intelligent, and the things she's done with her life already is just so amazing, and even just the initiatives that she started when she was in the White House that are still going on and hopefully will continue to go on. It's just amazing, and she's just a wonderful woman, and she's definitely someone I look up to a lot, and I just loved reading this. And seeing as we are on the presidential buzz, one that I've talked a lot about already this year is Mary Robinson's Everybody Matters, which is Mary Robinson's memoir. And for those who don't know Mary Robinson, she was the first female president of Ireland, and this is basically just her memoir again, kind of her growing up, her going to college, her becoming a senator as well in Ireland before she became president. She was one of the youngest presidents. She became president, I think she was only in her 40s when she became president, which was really young, and as well she was the first female president as well. We've since had Mary Mackenzie Lee, who came after Mary Robinson. She was the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights after her presidency, and then she's also a member, and now she's leader of the UN Elder Council. I don't know if it's a council or kind of a group that was once headed by Nelson Mandela, which is now, she's in charge of that now, and at the moment she's very outspoken in terms of things like climate change and stuff, though she doesn't quite get into that into this book. This is more about her presidency and then her time as UN High Commissioner, and I just really enjoyed it. I knew basically nothing about Mary Robinson except the fact that she had been President of Ireland, so going into this was just such a huge surprise for me that I loved it so much, and it just resonated with me so much, and I was just so proud to call her an Irish woman, because I think she is just an amazing person, very intelligent, has done quite a lot in terms of trying to help women in different situations. She kind of campaigned a lot for, or maybe not campaigned, but she worked a lot in terms of trying to make divorce legal in Ireland, and helping women who were very much trapped in their marriages because they couldn't divorce their husbands. And then she did a lot of like kind of really important kind of meetings and stuff when she was UN High Commissioner, and just the people she's met and the conversations she's had are just so fascinating. And I've also been listening to a podcast that she's on called Mothers of Invention, which is all about climate change. If anyone is interested in climate change or is just interested in really interesting women across the world, I would definitely say to give that one a listen to, because it's basically where herself, Mary Robinson, and Maeve Higgins, who's an Irish comedian living in New York, they basically talk to different women around the world, from, you know, India to Africa to South America, and these women around the world who are either running programs or have invented something, or are just involved in some way, in different ways, to kind of help with climate change and help with plastic pollution and stuff like that. And she's just amazing, and she's just a very inspiring woman, and yeah, I absolutely love her. There's definitely a theme with my non-fiction reads, and you might see that there's a particular like type of non-fiction that I read, and it's mostly all to do with women, and women in history and women figures and people I can look up to and be inspired by. So the next one I want to talk about is Bygone Badass Bras by Mackenzie Lee, which is really just a gorgeous picture book full of women in history who have done amazing things. This is one I actually really want to reread, and I just love this. This is a great one just to have on your table side, and you can just like literally pick this up, go to any page and just read about a really interesting woman, and then you can just put it down again, and then maybe a few days later, a few weeks later, pick it up again, flip to a different page, and then learn something else. And this is just so full of amazing facts about amazing women from centuries past, people who, you know, you may not have heard about in history, that you're angry about, that you didn't learn about in school in history. And it's just amazing to know about all the amazing things that women have done for so long, and even before that they were allowed to do it, they still did it. And yeah, really inspiring, amazing, and definitely just really like aesthetically pleasing book as well. Just so gorgeous. The next book I want to talk about is a little bit of kind of a lifestyle-y, I wouldn't say self-help book, but a guide in helping you in your 20s, I guess, and being online, and that is Fully Functioning Human Almost by Melanie Murphy. Melanie Murphy is an Irish YouTuber. If people don't know who she is, she kind of does like lifestyle content, kind of some healthy eating, and then things about like relationships and sex and bisexuality and stuff like that. She's really interesting. Definitely go check her out if you haven't. I would definitely recommend her vlogs and stuff. She does really nice content. But this was her first book, and it's just basically her kind of talking about being a young woman on the internet, and kind of showing her life on the internet as well, and just kind of the lessons she learned on the way. And I really like this one because I felt like this was the first kind of YouTuber book that came out in this kind of style that I actually could connect to, and that I actually could still get something out of. I felt like the others I had read were really aimed at like 13, 14, 15 year olds, and I was like, wow, this is all good. I'm well past the age where I feel like I will really get something out of this. So for Melanie's is definitely aimed at people in their 20s, and I feel like this one I picked up at a really good time, where I really felt like I was still getting a lot out of it, and I could really resonate and see myself in some of what she was saying as well. I think if I went and reread this now, it's been about 2 years since I read this, but if I reread this now, I think I would still feel the same about a lot of topics. It's still really timely, and yeah, it's still really good, and yeah, it's really well written, and I would recommend it. And the last book I want to talk about is one of my favourite books of all time, and I still don't have a physical copy of it, which is literally just terrible, because I really need to get a physical copy of this book. And it's the Radium Girls by Kate Moore. It's about women in the early 1900s. They used to work in these kind of like clock making factories, and they used to paint the dials of these clocks using radium for paint, so the clocks would kind of, you know, glow in the dark a little bit. And at the time, no one knew that radium was really poisonous, so these women were like around radium all the time, like in bare skin, like their arms, like their mouth, their hands, their arms. They used to paint each other with this paint because they used to think it was funny when they were going home and they would like glow in the dark. They were told that it was actually healthy for you, like there was these things that people were going to start taking radium pills every day because radium is supposed to be good for you. They used to like dip their paintbrushes in the paint, and then put the paintbrush in their mouth and like suck it to make the point, to help them paint the clocks better. And obviously after a while, a lot of these women, not even while they were working in the factories, but after they left the factories, and when they were like having children and getting married and, you know, just going on with their lives, a lot of them got really sick. And when I mean like got really sick, I mean like, you know, they were getting like lumps and bumps everywhere, obviously cancerous masses, their teeth were falling out, they were having a lot of gum problems. There's some like descriptions in this book about women who were able to literally just like put their hands in their fingers in their mouth and like pull out pieces of teeth and bone, because everything would be just so loose and terrible in their mouth, and really bad mouth ulcers and stuff like that. And all of it was to do obviously with radium poisoning. And it's about the women who basically took on the corporations, these factories, who had obviously completely let them get down in terms of health and safety, didn't care about them. And even though these women were dying and they were in a terrible amount of pain, they just kept fighting. And as soon as a couple would die, more would come up, and more would, like, you know, be diagnosed with this illness, and then they would join the fight. And they're just so brave and so strong, and it's just so, like, it's so sad that they had to go through this, but just their bravery in continuing to fight just for the recognition that what was done to them was wrong and negligent. It's just such an amazing story. And yeah, I read this a few years ago, and since then I've seen a lot of people pick it up, and Emma Watson chose it for one of her book club picks, which I was so happy about. So I'm really glad to see this is getting more recognition, because I think it was just an amazing read. I was so hooked onto it. Definitely one I really need to reread as well, but this was a brilliant one. They are some non-fiction books that I really love, and I definitely want to reread, and I think I will continue to reread probably for the rest of my life. Let me know your favourite non-fiction reads because I would love to know, and I'll see you guys again next time.